Namaste. In chapter 6, verse 2, Krishna says, "Understand, O Pandava, Arjuna, that what the scriptures call sannyasa, renunciation, is the same thing as yoga. Indeed, without renunciation of selfish motive, sankalpa, one cannot be a true yogi." So there are many swamis who are not yogis, many yogis who are not swamis, but real renunciation means to do your duty and to do it without desire for the fruits. This is true sannyas. And whether you give up marriage or your wife or husband or not does not matter that much. It's a good thing. I urge people, if they want to renounce family and if they're not married, it's much easier. If you have a wife, she's always nagging at you probably. They say that, my guru used to say that a woman with a 6-inch tongue can kill a man 6 feet tall. And there's a lot of difficulty in marriage. You always have to relate to one person especially. That makes it very difficult to think that you don't have to give more energy to one person, one group of people, your children, than to all the world. It's very difficult. You have to admit that it's just about impossible. But you can control that attachment. It's harder in marriage, but in Yogananda's Autobiography of a Yogi, he said to do your duty in the world, and he was meaning to be a householder, is the higher path as regard to being a swami or a normal person. He said it's the higher path, provided the yogi have no attachment and lives in this world only for God. It's harder, but it's possible. And later editions of Autobiography of a Yogi have changed that and said that living a normal life, people are not debarred from higher attainments, but it's changed the whole meaning of it. It means that they say that to be really sincere, you have to give up everything. Well, you can be sincere wherever you are. You have to say, however, that it is more difficult. And I have to add to that the path is so difficult anyway, that why not make it as easy for yourself as you can? So I do urge those people who can do so, who are not yet married, you're on the safer side. When my guru was a young man, he went to a saint in Calcutta, and the saint said, "My boy, are you married?" And my guru said, "No." And the saint replied, "Then you're on the safe side. You'd better stay that way." He himself was married, and his wife was a very materialistic woman. And he said to my master, he said, "But she doesn't know where I am. I have escaped her." He didn't mean he had gone to the Himalayas. He means that his inner life was something she could know nothing about. I know that Master's chief disciple, Rajarshi Janakananda, was a married man. Most of Master's most highly advanced disciples were either married or had been married. Anyway, this very great saint, he had a wife who was a little mad, and he had to meditate. He had to go into the bathroom where she couldn't see him, lock the door, and then sit in meditation. Well, this is why it's easier to be a single person. However, single people, how do they live? How do they survive? Usually you have to join an ashram. And if you have an ashram, you have a hierarchy of people telling you what to do. And those people are not wiser just because they have been there longer. And so you find yourself strapped again by control, by authority, by telling you to obey something that you know isn't right for you. If you can find a true guru, then that's the best thing of all. One who knows God will know who you are and will know your nature and will know what you need to do to come out of that karma and become free. So if you want to know God, really, first of all, God will inspire you through books. Always it's God who gradually brings you to the path. When you've seen enough of this world and it begins to have an anguishing monotony for you, it's always the same old problems, same old things, and you finally say, it's become I want something more. And then when you begin to seek God, then God begins to send you spiritual books to read. There was one starlet in Hollywood, a very beautiful woman, and coming up in the movie world, but she was so tired of that life. And she was sitting in a corner of a party one evening, just weeping disconsolately, just thinking, what can I do with my life? It means nothing to me. And some guest there threw a book of autobiography, a copy of Autobiography into her lap. He said, "Here, you want this one, it'll help you." Well, it was exactly what she wanted. She became a disciple of Master. But the thing is, God shows you first through the books. Then when you want to be more serious, he shows you through individual teachers. And those teachers can take you to a certain point, can inspire you in certain ways and so on. But then at a certain point, you know that you need personal help, and you need it from somebody who is wise. Now in this case, usually what it will be is somebody whom you have known in other lives, who has attained this and is now helping you up. I think of the spiritual path as many different families. There are some saints in India. I have known that they were saints. I have been to their ashrams. I've had very great respect for them, but I knew that that was not mine. It wasn't for me. When I met Master, I knew this was mine. And when you meet your Guru, there is usually some kind of recognition, as there was in my case. I didn't know about past incarnations. I didn't know that incarnation, reincarnation was true, except that I knew that he believed in it, and so I said it must be true. But it was just a recognition of his soul. So it is that when you really want God, then, how do you know that you really want God? There was this one young boy of 15, I think, who came to a guru and asked him to be accepted as a disciple. The guru took him down to a nearby river and put his head underwater until the boy his lungs were bursting, and he let him up then. And he said, "What did you want most when you were underwater?" "Air, air." And the saint said, "When you want God that badly, come back to me." Well, this is how you must want God before you can really be worthy to seek him. There has to be that absolute desperation. You have to know that this is not true, but you will get that in your time. It won't come until it comes naturally. In my case, it was absolutely desperate. There was no other possibility for me except to find God through my Guru. Anyway, before that, you will probably meet your Guru, but then you will come and go. Usually what happens is you meet the Guru, he helps you at a certain point, then some desire comes up. Somebody who wanted to be a great scientist, somebody will tell him, "Oh, you could have been a great scientist," and suddenly bells of fame and success and so on start ringing in his head, and he goes back to the world and thinks to become a great scientist. Or you could become a great pianist, and so you go back and try. Almost always people fail in those things, but not necessarily. You fulfill the desire, and then you realize, well, this isn't what I wanted, so you come back. I one time said to my Guru, "Have I been your disciple for thousands of years?" He said, "It's been a long time, that's all I will say." I said to him then, because I didn't want to think I was the only slouch in the crowd, and I said, "Well, does it always take that long?" He said, "Oh yes, desire for name and fame and so on take them away again and again." And I wondered why he mentioned name and fame, because these are not the usual desires that people have. Usually what they want is money or sex or power or whatever. But I think he mentioned those because those were my desires. And certainly I have had them, but now they mean nothing to me. At one time maybe they did, I don't know. There is certainly a positive side to being well known. Then more people know you and you can help more people. If nobody knows you, nobody would come and listen to you. So in that case, you can do more good. But if you take it to yourself, you get spoiled by it. I know that it was very interesting to me because somebody flew from New York to California, came all the way up to Ananda village just to talk to me. And he said that he had had a vision and he felt that I should know that know this vision. It was meant for me to hear it. I had not had it myself, but often these things are better when they come from outside you. He said that in a former life, Yogananda was Swami Shankara, and I think it's quite possible because Yogananda told me stories about Swami Shankara that I don't think are in any books. Anyway, he said you were his chief disciple, and you were the disciple who was the head of the monks, and you began to get proud of becoming the center of people's attention, and you doubted your guru and left him and developed your own coterie of disciples. And so in this life, your brother at that time was so angry with you for leaving your guru that in this lifetime he is the one, in the form of Taramata, who destroyed me or tried to in this life, that she had that memory of you and she's very against you. I remember that she said, I don't know what karma I have with him, but I have this feeling that I've got to destroy him. Anyway, he said now when she died, she realized that your motives were completely pure this time. You weren't seeking name and fame and so on. And she feels very badly. And so at this point, very strange encounter, this man stood up and he said, I would like you to embrace me and forgive me. And she said, think of her as me, think of me as her, and embrace me in that way. So I did. And he said that she felt so badly for having treated me as she did. I don't know if it's true, but it certainly rings true. And the thing is that you do go through so many delusions. And again, I had my way of being pulled off. Other people have theirs. And it takes time, even after meeting the Guru. You know, it's also this, that I have said that when you have a stained glass window, what gives those panes of glass brilliancy is when the sun shines through them. But when the sun is shining through a stained glass window very strongly, then you can see little defects in the glass, maybe dust particles, maybe dirt, maybe some defect in the glass itself. You can see these as you cannot see them when there isn't light shining behind them. And so as you become more, you develop spiritual power, there comes this clarity and this power behind you that illuminates all your personality. So if there are kinks in your personality, then those will become stronger. And so it is that you often see very spiritual people who have some major flaw, and you wonder how they can have such a flaw. Most people don't have it, but they do. It's because most people don't have any power behind them to show that flaw. But when it's these people develop spiritual consciousness and power, they begin to display these things, and only when they become very clear are they able to see that it's a fault and it's something they have to get rid of. So mind you, the path to God is not a quick path. It can take a long time. It takes very good karma to want to know God. It takes a long time to find God. And does it really have to take so long? Of course it doesn't. But the human mind is so stubborn. And so you come to your guru, then you remember some desire you have. And through being with him, you develop that greater power that makes you drawn in that direction. And you have to go away, then you come back. I remember the head of his organization in Mexico City, my guru said to him one time, his name was Mr. Quaron, he said, I lost touch with you for a few lifetimes, but now I have found you again, I will never lose touch again. And every now and then Quaron would say to Master, remember your promise? And Master said, no, I will never lose you again. But for a while you can wander. There is one disciple of Master who had very high spiritual experiences, but he had a mixed karma. And Master said to him one time, if you leave, this is a warning, I'm telling you, if you leave the path now, it will take you 200 incarnations to come back to the point you've already reached. A terrible thing for somebody who's trying to get out of Maya to be told, but in fact he left. In fact, he completely went away from everything, and it will take him long. It's one of the sorrowful, difficult aspects of the spiritual path, but they always come back. And the Guru, once he has given you his unconditional love, he has committed himself to helping you. So to get that promise from a guru, you want that promise, because if he gives you that, he has the responsibility for taking you all the way to God. There's one disciple of Yogananda who betrayed him, almost destroyed his work, did his best to destroy it. In another life, he had also betrayed him and risen in rebellion against him. And this man, in this lifetime, Master would every year send him a box of mangoes. Every year this man sent them back unopened. He was so completely in rebellion against Master. But Master said he will never find God except through this instrument, which was given him by God. So once you found your guru, you have to go that way. Learn loyalty. Loyalty is the first law of God. But when you finally have realized that nothing will work, then he will help you and bring you to his shores. This is the goal of every person. But how long it takes, don't even think about it, because it can discourage you. I'm not trying to discourage you, though. I'm trying to get you to see that this is a vitally important thing. If you have come to the point on your spiritual journey where you know this is what you must do, then, as Jesus Christ said, when you put your hand to the plow, don't look back. And when you begin to say, when you've reached the point where you say, I know I want God, don't look back. Maya has its power. Satan has his magnetism that can draw you to him. Don't sort of think, well, it's all in the mind. I can sort of look at those things, but they're not real. They won't affect me. They have their power. Don't play games with your own mind. When you've given your life to God, then make that your absolute commitment, and don't look left or right. Don't think, well, this saint said that saint said that. Be his. Joy to you.